About 5 years ago, in the height of COVID, I made a little video from my front yard, and it's the closest thing I reckon that I had done so far to go viral. But I did it with the intention to just say hi to some folks that were behind closed doors. It was in the spring shutdown, and folks were still very isolated. And I talked about a topic that resonated with some parents and grandparents, and it caused some folks that grew up the way I did to reminisce a little bit. And it was pretty far-reaching, and it was about post hole diggers. At that time, I was building arbors for my grapevines that required several post holes, and I was down there on the four-wheeler just sitting and resting and thinking about how I had the privilege of learning how to run idiot sticks. I know a lot of folks that brag about being forklift certified. Well, I'm not forklift certified, but I am idiot stick certified. I've used post hole diggers about since I was big enough to hold them. Dad kind of was insistent on that. And the lesson he taught me about life was, when you get tired of digging and you think it's deep enough, sometimes if you want something you're doing to last, you've got to dig a little deeper. And the message of that little short, it was, I guess, 5-6 minutes long. That message kind of found some people, because one, I talked about, I had the privilege of the hard work. I had the experience of bloody calluses and watery blisters. I had the experience of working at a task, digging a post hole, and then having it come inspected and critiqued by someone I guess was a post hole expert, my father. And he would always say, dig a little deeper. And sometimes in life, especially today, it seems like I have to remember that lesson more oftentimes than not, because sometimes I'm just tired of digging. And we all get that way. And we feel like we've dug ourselves down into the bottom of the hole, and we got to go a little deeper to hold our lives fast. And that's where we find faith. And the message in faith I want to speak to you about, that I reckon you could say is just a good common sense lesson. And I'll go ahead and give you some advice. If you have a young man from the age of, I don't know, 7 to, I would say 17, but now I guess you got to say something closer to about 30, and they've never struck a lick before in their life, go to the hardware store, invest about 70-80 bucks in a set of post hole diggers. And you say, well, I don't have any post holes that need dug. You don't need to. This is the beautiful part. Put those post hole diggers in the young man's hand, and you can be nice and gracious and even let him have a pair of gloves. And you can do this with young ladies too. I'm not culling them out of the conversation at all. It helped them tremendously too. But just tell them to dig a hole. And I don't care how deep they've dug it. Tell them it's 2 inches too shallow. And make them try a little harder to get to the bottom of where you want it to be. And then if you don't have a fence to be built, tell them to fill the hole up. That's going to teach them another valuable lesson in life. A lot of times we strive for things that are for naught. But get used to it and learn how to avoid it. And when you put forth effort, put forth that effort for the glory of the kingdom, yeah, but also learn the fact that if you're doing something for somebody, you're trading your time for their wealth. And life's too short to throw your life away, so make it count. I mean, you can teach lessons all day long while they sit there and dig a hole to China. But the faith lesson today I want to get to is this. What we've been doing is, I don't know if I can do this and not need editing, but we'll turn you around and look a little bit. Got a garden spot back here. Well, that's well and good in the middle of this great big pasture, but if you look over my shoulder, somewhere back there are 2 pie-eating horses, and we don't want the pie-eating horses to get in our garden spot. So I ask you today, do you have a personal place in your life where you've got the horses fenced out? It can be one of the most advantageous and rewarding things for you to do. Jesus talked about it quite a bit whenever he talked about, in the Bible, it references the prayer closet. There's times to pray together. There's times to pray corporately. There's time for the people around you to hear what you pour out of your heart towards God's throne. But where I have my breakthroughs, usually I ain't shouting the house down in church. Where I have my breakthroughs is when I've got a place to fence the horses out. The noise of life, the bothers and the worries, the things I don't have time to compress and compartmentalize day to day, I gotta have a place where the horses are fenced out. Now, these two horses, I think one of them's 25, one of them's 28, something like that. They're not exactly ready for the Kentucky Derby next year, but they can medal. And if we was just to plant this garden, they'd medal all through it. There wouldn't be a thing grow that I could eat. And you waste a lot of your life just living amongst the horses. So I fenced it off. I'm privileged to have this little spot of ground that we can put this garden on. It's been 8 years since I had a garden. My garden used to be 3 acres, and me and Julie put everything up that we could get out of it that we didn't give away. But it wasn't the cucumbers, and it wasn't the tomatoes. Oh, God bless tomatoes. It wasn't all that. It wasn't the corn. It was every morning that God gave me grace to get out of bed. I'd take my shoes off and I'd go walk in that dirt, and there wasn't no horses. So, for an illustration, find you a place where you can fence the horses out, turn the noise off. If I could have it my way, there'd be a Faraday cage built over this whole garden. Cell phones wouldn't work. Leave the cell phone at the house. Go out and don't just touch grass, feel it. While you're at it, realize who created it. You're more precious to him than anything else he created. So go fence the horses out. Find you a prayer closet and center life. I can't tell you how to do that. That's a personal journey. But if you'll center yourself in life, you'll find that all the worries that are closing in on you at one time, you can fight them off one at a time. And I don't know, fencing the horses out saved my life. Might do the same for you. Remember this, Toby from a Tractor loves you, but more important, the Lord loves you. Have a good evening.